What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 sports detective, and I'm here for the news. And this past weekend, it was a sensational week for college football. Nebraska and the Colorado Buffaloes were both on display and were headlining. Nebraska played on a Thursday night, so they had the college football world to themselves, and Colorado took over the whole college football landscape because of the hype around Deion Sanders. And if this Colorado team could actually go into TCU and win, they were 21-point underdogs, and a lot of people in the media was picking against them. Now, I can't blame everybody because obviously you don't know when you bring in 86 new players, what's the chemistry going to be like? But because of Deion Sanders' bravado, his confidence, the way he's able to communicate with young men, I'm not shocked at all that he was able to go into TCU and win. I did a video on primetime when he first went to Colorado, and I said I like everything about the hire, and I know he's going to be successful. I know he's going to win at Colorado, and I said he's going to be there 3 years before he moves on to bigger and better things. Now, on the other end, you have Matt Rule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska Cornhuskers got a quarterback in Jeff Sims. Jeff Sims played for Georgia Tech last year, and he threw an abundance of interceptions at Georgia Tech. And they say he's a dual threat quarterback where he runs the ball, but he's not one of the best runners in the country. Now, they play against the Minnesota Golden Gophers, like I said, on Thursday, where he threw 3 interceptions. One thing that's apparently obvious is Jeff Sims can't read the field. And I'm okay with quarterbacks being one-read quarterbacks and not being able to read the field if you're a Taylor Martinez, where you're a dynamic runner, where you can do that off of play action and you only need one read because teams are so afraid of you using your legs. But the problem is Jeff Sims is only an okay runner. He's a good runner, but he's not a great runner. And he threw 3 of the most boneheaded picks you possibly can throw. And they look like a team who brought in a bunch of transfers out the transfer portal. On the other hand, Deion Sanders' team looked like they've been together for 3 seasons. But obviously, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter played together last year, and now they're both in the Heisman talk and Heisman hype. Shedeur Sanders threw for 510 yards, 5 touchdowns, and he had 3 drops. So he could have had 6 touchdowns and damn near 600 yards easily against a TCU team who played the championship game last year. Now, I'm going to be going over this clip, but the thing is, I want to make it abundantly clear. Nebraska couldn't score against a bad Minnesota team. Minnesota did everything in the world to help Nebraska win that game. But Nebraska still couldn't win the game. On the other hand, Colorado went into Fort Worth and took the game from TCU on the road and scored damn near 50. Now, Nebraska defense did look good, but Minnesota is not a good team. And Minnesota starting running back, I think he didn't even play. So this is going to be extremely interesting this weekend. Me personally, as a person who's been rooting for Nebraska since the 90s, since the Lawrence Phillips days and the Tommy Frazier's and the Mike Mentors and all these type of players, that Grant Wistroms, and all them type of players, Joe Makovicka, and I've been rooting for Nebraska for a very long time, but I've always been honest about my teams and how they look and what I see. And if Nebraska comes out in any way, shape, or form how they came out against Minnesota, they're going to lose by at least 3 touchdowns. They better come. Look, Colorado had 4 players with over 100 yards. When you have 200-yard receivers, that's a fantastic day. When you have 3 100-yard receivers, that's an anomaly. That doesn't even happen that often. When you have 4, that's a all-time historic passing day. And we have a quarterback who can't even read the field. Now, it wasn't like TCU was out there just getting burnt and There was a lot of contested catches by Colorado. A lot. Nebraska's going to have to play the best defensive game of their lives because Nebraska doesn't have very many receivers. The one wide receiver we do got, if I'm not mistaken, he tore his ACL. And look, he wasn't a game changer. We have never seen him. It ain't like he was a 1,000-yard receiver last year. So he tore his ACL. We have Marcus Washington, who was suspended for the first half. He coming in the second half. And then he looked okay. But the thing is, could he even start for Colorado? I doubt it. At the best, I see him as a fourth wide receiver. But the Cornhuskers and Matt Rule and all of the Cornhuskers fan base, I won't speak in absolutes, not all, but a lot of the Cornhusker fan base was trashing Deion. And they talked a bunch of shit about Deion. And they said this team is going to be terrible. And they was reading all the press clippings. But it's not just about Deion being terrible. It's about the man being able to inspire young men because he brought in 86 new players. Now, you don't know about chemistry, but one thing you do know, Deion won at Pop Warner level, high school level. He went to HBCU and dominated. Now he's coming in here and dominated. He's one of the greatest athletes of all time. He dominated in the professionals. Only man to ever play in the World Series and the Super Bowl. I mean, this is the type of athlete you're dealing with. So when it comes to confidence, there's no man that's more confident. And Matt Rule had a few little snide things to say in the offseason about Colorado and Deion. But now when I seen his press conference, Matt Rule sounded a little humbled. He was giving out a bunch of goddamn praises and the admiration he had for Deion. And when I'm telling you, I read body language. And when I looked at Matt Rule in that press conference, he looked nervous. He looked a little disheveled. He did not look like a man who was exuding confidence. So I would not be surprised if Nebraska didn't get their hats handed to them. Now, usually when people make picks and say things like this, you root for your pick. I hope I'm dead wrong because I've been rooting for Nebraska for so long. I'm not a fan of no team or no man because a fan is just short for fanatic. So I'm not fanatical about no team or no man, but I do root for the Cornhuskers. And I've been rooting for them every year since about 91, 92. So that go to tell you where I'm at with it. But the thing is, I'm honest about what I'm seeing. And these people have so many people at the skill position. Defensively, for Colorado, I don't know. But we know offensively, they got the skill positions. They got two great corners. I mean, it's going to be tough. Nebraska's going to have to run the ball. They didn't run the ball very well last week. How many yards rushing did Nebraska have last week? A little over 100? It wasn't. They didn't do nothing last week. 3 picks from Jeff Sims. But let's take a look at this clip.
Fort Worth was hot yesterday, and not just for the summer heat. CU Bus football was on fire against TCU. Coach Deion Sanders wasn't surprised.
We got a couple guys that should be front runners for the Heisman right now.
And you see, he said he got his guys front runner for the Heisman. Meanwhile, in Nebraska, our guys are front runners to lead the NCAA in interceptions, fumbles, and turnovers. I mean, look, neither one of these teams have been good over this last decade. Nebraska and Colorado has been bottom-dwelling, bottom feeders for a while now. But now we can see Colorado is supposed to turn that around. The people who root for Nebraska and the other people who are fans of Nebraska, they want and hope. But when you see Colorado, you like, I can see, you're very confident in what can happen. And nothing's guaranteed in life. But when you look at Deion Sanders, you know it won't be from lack of coaching and belief and the understanding of young men and how to communicate and get the best out of them.
That's how I feel.
In Coach Prime's debut, Colorado beat a ranked team for the first time since 2019.
Amazing things for the program in terms of revenue, and of course publicity leads to revenue, and the publicity generated from something like this is very hard to put a dollar figure on.
Kieran Dubersmith teaches sports marketing at MSU of Denver. He's telling fans, get ready, a successful team means pricey tickets.
As we know with the basic law of supply and demand, when there's limited supply and there's scarcity, and when there's a high demand, there's nothing to do but raise prices.
Going to the big rivalry game on Saturday won't be cheap. One ticket on SeatGeek costs $266.
Could you imagine if Nebraska had got Deion Sanders? We could have had Shedeur Sanders. We could have had Travis Hunter. We would have smoked Minnesota. We'd have crushed Colorado. On our way into the Big Ten, living the dream. But no. Let's get water balloon head ass Matt Rule. And I hope Matt Rule succeeds. I ain't saying he can't. And maybe he has to build his stuff the old fashioned way, but oh man. When you've been bad for so long, you would love to see some kind of success immediately. And this game against Minnesota should have been. That was a layup.
Ticketmaster is selling a seat for over $400.
I think that fans of the other teams want to get a look at Coach Prime in action. And so that demand has skyrocketed.
Now, voter believes. People in the front office, people in the building, the fans, the students. Now, everybody wants to believe. I'm good with that. We got room.
Confidence in this team is building.
We're here now. Let's go, baby.
And the attention is growing far beyond Colorado.
The idea is that Coach Prime is going to bring in television viewers. So no matter who we're playing, if CU is winning, we're going to start getting some looks.
Now, hotel rooms in Boulder, they look like they're booking up to several $100s per night this weekend. On Airbnb, Jenny, I only found 4 properties that were still available close enough to campus.
And the sad thing is Nebraska has one of the best fan bases. Look, Colorado has a lot of professional teams, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, etc., hockey. Nebraska football, that is the professional team of Nebraska. So it's just disappointing that it seems like our coaching hires, we just can't get the top guys. With the transfer portal, you could have got so many. We just can't get them. We ended up with Jeff Sims. I think Jeff Sims is a good young man. But when I'm just being honest about him playing quarterback, I don't see it. We had a running back in Grant who fumbled all in the offseason. So he lost his starting position. He come into the season fumbling. Yeah, Jeff Sims threw all these picks last year. He come into the season throwing picks. Maya Angelou said, when somebody show you who they are, believe them. These people aren't that good. We don't have good receivers. And if we do, they're too young to really even whoever the youngest receivers is at this point, put them in. You're not fit to win a bunch of games this year. That's plainly obvious. If Nebraska can win 5 games, it'll be a miracle. A miracle. But I'll take a miracle this year. 5 games, I'm happy. But this game against Colorado, I don't see how Nebraska wins this game. Now, it's football. Anything can happen, especially if you can get into a game late in that third quarter and have it a close game. All things is up for grab. But in all honesty, you can easily see 42-17. Nebraska just getting completely railroaded and ran out the gym. And Coach Prime starts off 2-0, and we start off 0-2. Basically, living in like what you would call Groundhog's Day. Every football season, when you wake up, it seems like the same thing is happening over and over again. In the same way of turnovers. I mean, when you look at it, you think to yourself, well, shit, they could have just kept Casey Thompson. So tragic, you guys. But I got Colorado winning this game, going away. I sure hope I'm wrong. You know, a lot of times when you make picks like this, you root for your interest, you root for your picks. But if I'm wrong, I'll be so happy to be wrong if Nebraska can beat Colorado. But what I just seen, 400-yard receivers, 500 yards passing about the quarterback, 5 touchdowns, exciting, on the road. Everybody think you're going to lose. And now we play one of our biggest rivals of all time in Colorado. And going into the season, everybody in Nebraska, there was a lot of people. Now, I keep saying everybody, but a lot of people in Nebraska was disrespected. It's real disrespectful. I know right now, people got to be shaking in their boots. But, you know, hopefully Nebraska win. But I got to admit, I do root for Prime. Outside of the Nebraska game, I hope they can win as many games as possible. I like Prime Time. He should have came to Nebraska. Nebraska should have hired him. But, you know, politics. I just want to go over this clip, give this early prediction. I usually make 3, 4, 5 Nebraska videos a year. But Disappointing weekend, but exciting weekend at the same time. I appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been Sports Life and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 sports detective. I'm in for the news. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on Jeff Sims, about to lead the nation in interceptions. Ride. Peace.